1987 was one of those years Hollywood acted like it was strapped to a rocket and nobody was steering.
You don't have a cousin Patty.
You lied to me!
You had massive mainstream hits dominating the headlines, but quietly lurking underneath all the noise were the misfits. The movies that tanked, bombed, or got ignored completely. And yet decades later, these are the films people talk about, quote, and rewatch more than the so-called hits of the time. So today, we're digging into the 1987 movies that took a tumble at the box office, only to rise from the ashes as some of the most beloved cult classics of the entire decade.
It's showtime.
Let's kick things off with the king of VHS resurrection, The Monster Squad, a $12 million movie that made barely $4 million back. That's not just a flop. That's a we might need to have a little meeting kind of flop. But then the home video boom happened, and kids everywhere discovered it. Dracula, the Wolfman, the Mummy, every classic monster thrown into a chaotic 80s adventure. And of course, the single greatest line in cinema history.
Kick him in the nose! He just hit him nose! Do it! Do it! Wolfman's got nards!
Today, this movie is treated like a sacred artifact. It didn't just become a cult classic, it became a lifestyle.
You're not a virgin, are you? No? No, what do you mean, no? Well, Steve, but he doesn't count! Doesn't count!
Near Dark. One of the best vampire movies ever made that nobody bothered to see in theaters. Catherine Bigelow crafted a stylish, gritty, Western-infused vampire thriller that critics loved and audiences shrugged at. It wasn't flashy enough, it didn't have big stars, and it got buried underneath bigger releases. But over time, people realized this movie was way ahead of its time. Modern horror fans practically worship it. The lighting, the atmosphere, the tone. Near Dark redefined vampire cinema before anyone realized it had even arrived. It was a flop then. Now, it's legendary.
Gee whiz, if you're not gonna serve me a drink, well, I'll just have to drink his.
How can you drink that shit?
I do that?
Did I do that?
Angel Heart, a film that had everything going for it on paper. Mickey Rourke at his peak, Robert De Niro being mysterious and terrifying, a psychological noir horror story dripping with overtones. But when it released, controversy killed it. Marketing was messy, critics were split, audiences were confused, and the box office limped to about 17 million. Not enough to justify the buzz surrounding it.
Leave slime in their tracks.
But as the years passed, people revisited it, and suddenly the movie clicked. The tension, the mood, the grit, the performances, everything that overwhelmed audiences in 1987 became exactly what fans love now. Angel Heart is considered one of the most underrated films of the entire decade.
I know who I am.
That's it, Johnny. Take a good look. However cleverly you sneak up on a mirror, your reflection always looks you straight in the eye. I know who I am!
Producers, 12 chairs, blazing cells, young Frankenstein.
Here it is, sir! Spaceballs!
Yes, Spaceballs. Technically, it made money. But compared to Mel Brooks' previous hits, this movie was considered a disappointment. Critics didn't get it. Fans didn't rush to theaters.
What the hell am I looking at? When does this happen in the movie? Now. You're looking at now, sir. Everything that happens now is happening now.
And it never came close to the box office expectations attached to Brooks' name. And then came cable TV, VHS, comedy marathons, quote culture, fandom, and suddenly Spaceballs became larger than life. May the Swartz be with you. Ludicrous speed, comb the desert. People quote this movie the way philosophers quote ancient texts. What started as meh release is now one of the biggest cult comedies ever made.
Are you all right, sir?
Fine. How have you been?
The Hidden, a sci-fi thriller that barely made a blip in theaters, but later grew into one of the most respected genre movies of the era. It had the unfortunate timing and releasing against much bigger studio films, so audiences simply never found it. But did they make up for it later? The concept, brilliant. The execution, sleek. The energy, peak 80s sci-fi. Fans now treat The Hidden like a secret handshake. If someone references it in conversation, you instantly know you're the real one. Across the Pond, Withnail and I, released quietly, and also died quietly.
They belong to him.
You're drunk.
I assure you I'm not, officer. Honestly, I've only had a few ales.
It barely got a theater run. Critics liked it, but audiences just weren't showing up for a dark comedy about two unemployed actors drinking their way through complete emotional collapse. But after theaters, the movie exploded. It became a cultural staple in the UK, a rite of passage for film students, one of the most quoted British comedies ever made. Are you a farmer? We've gone on holiday. By mistake. This movie went from flop to phenomenon, all on charm, wit, and the most quotable dialogue the UK has ever seen for that time.
I've been watching you, especially you, prancing like a tit. You want working on, boy.
Now let's crawl over to the gate. This movie had a modest box office return, but in 1987 it barely made a ripple in the horror scene. Too weird, too unique, too practical effects, heavy at a time when slashers dominated the market. But horror fans don't forget. And once VHS got a hold of the gate, the movie became a cult treasure. Claymation demons, stop-motion monsters, kids battling supernatural chaos. It's basically the ultimate parents are gone, let's accidentally open up a portal to hell movie. Horror fans love this one now. And there you have it. Films from 1987 that Hollywood dismissed, ignored, mismarketed, or simply didn't understand, but that fans rediscovered and turned into beloved cult classics. These movies didn't win over 1987, but they won the long game. And sometimes, that's the only game that matters.